Flippy touchscreens are great, because then you just gotta tap on it. Alright, what's up everybody? And there's my air conditioner, that's great. So, I know it's been a while since my last video. Thanks for waiting, guys. Right now, the next thing I actually wanted to talk about, as you can notice, I may have been wearing either contacts or glasses in my last video. I got the surgery roughly 10 days ago, so as you can see, kind of looking at my eye, if you have the higher resolution set, the surgery heals really quickly. And a lot of people that I know, especially people who are cadets with me in the Air Force right now, or people who I work with, are wondering the process for LASIK eye surgery. So first things first is, why did I get LASIK? The biggest reason I decided to get LASIK eye surgery, as I mentioned, I'm a cadet in the United States Air Force. I am training to hopefully be able to be a pilot one day if I can study, graduate, get my bachelor's degree, and I'm lucky enough to get a slot. I would love to be a pilot, a fighter pilot, or a cargo pilot in the Air Force. That would be in a couple years, hopefully. So as of a few months ago, my prescription actually wasn't very well up until, since when I was really little. I've had to wear glasses since I was in about like 6th grade, so I don't know how old that is, like maybe 10 years old. I don't even remember, but I've been wearing glasses the whole time, and my prescription was getting worse and worse and worse, and by the time I graduated from high school, my prescription's been the same since then. For those of you who do wear glasses and you know your prescription, my prescription was like negative 2.5 in one eye, negative I think 2.0 in the other eye, with a little bit of astigmatism. So it's not crazy bad, but through the Air Force itself, it's actually something that I could have quite a few other jobs, but if you want to be a pilot, you have to have pretty much perfect vision, very close to perfect vision. So I was disqualified essentially for being a pilot due to just my eyesight, but that was something where if I kind of went ahead and kind of took the little bit of a risk to get surgery, for those of you who have experience with the military is very finicky when you get certain surgery, so if anything changes, if anything goes wrong, it can be bad, and it's a little bit of a risk, because if there's any complications, they will say, okay, now you could be in the military before, you just couldn't be a pilot, now since you've had any issues, now you can't be in the military at all. So LASIK isn't super complicated, but it's definitely something to consider if any of you out there are doing it for that reason. I know there's not too many people out there that want to like be pilots or anything like that, but if any of you are watching and you're trying to see for that reason, I would recommend it, but definitely think over all the possibilities, because it is, even though it's a surgery that doesn't take too much time, and I'll go into the details in a few minutes, it is something you need to consider. So that's the reason I decided to do it. I really, as an cadet, right now I'm starting to think of the jobs that I want, and one of the things was, well, it's a risk I was willing to take because it's a job that I want, and it's something that I decided, what, I am willing to take that risk because it's the main job that I want, and I don't want to be disqualified and have to go into a different job without giving it a try. I'm lucky enough where the surgery went really well. I actually have above 20/20 vision right now, so it worked really well, heals really quickly. A lot of people actually saw me a couple days later and they're like, hey, can you see, are you blind? Yeah, you can, apart from the day of, you can see pretty well. So that's something that's really cool too. You do have to have eye drops, you have to wear these goggles, kind of these little shields at night so you don't scratch your eye out. But it is something that is fortunate enough that it doesn't really hurt very much. It looks pretty scary. I'll show you guys some videos, but it actually, in general, for a life thing, just like, getting braces or things like that, I would recommend it for anybody out there who, if you wear glasses. The financial part of it is relatively expensive. I live in California, where just because of the cost of living is higher, things are a little more expensive. I spent roughly $5K on the surgery. Do the math on your own, but for me, I was actually wearing contact and glasses, even through my insurances don't like to pay for contacts very much. So, for paying, I don't know, let's say I wear dailies before, daily contacts, so just for wearing contacts a year, I'm buying contacts every year, I was paying maybe like $300 or $400 a year for contacts. So even then, after a few years, after about 5-6 years, it adds up. So even just getting LASIK on its own and not having to wear contacts for, even if it's just 5 or 6 years, it pays off. It basically ends up paying for itself. So you can see it as an investment. So that leads to the actual day of surgery. Now I can show some videos as well. In the location that I was at, they don't actually let you record there, so I wasn't able to get any sort of video of my surgery, but a lot of them are very similar. So as you can see, the main surgery itself, once you're in, it takes about 10-15 minutes, but for LASIK eye surgery, which is what I got, they have you lay down, they put numbing drops in, and there's a little bit of a process before that I'll share with you in a second, but they basically cut a flap in your eye, in the cornea, the clear part of your eye, they pull it back, and that cut is actually made with a laser. So they put something on your eye to cut it with a laser. They cut the cornea with a laser, and then they actually, for me, they had me get up and move to a different station, and then they had me lay back down, and then they go and they hold your eye open again, and they peel back that layer, and for a few seconds, they have the laser go in and actually shoot into your eye and do all the corrective part. It takes just a few seconds, really. I was in the actual, I guess you could call it the operating room, for about 10-15 minutes. Total, you're there for roughly 3 hours. So, for example, for me, I showed up the day of surgery. They already had all the numbers in from my eye doctor. So I showed up, I checked in, they have you take a seat, they have you wait a little bit, and then the first thing they do is they take you back and they take some pictures of your eye, and they have you wait maybe another 30 minutes because they have a lot of people. This place only does surgery every Fridays, so basically everybody has their schedule to come in at almost the same time, just a little bit staggered. They take one person back and they do everybody, and kind of once they loop around, then they start getting people, so they kind of go in a flow, kind of like clockwork essentially. So for me, they took some pictures of my eye, they had me sit down, some other people got their pictures of their eye, they sat down, then they took me back and they actually had me open my eye. They rechecked my prescription, that is what my eye doctor sent, just so they can double check it, and they also look into your eye to see if your cornea itself is too thin, just to make sure they do the surgery. So if your cornea is too thin, the clear part of your eye, the main difference is you have something called PRK, which is very similar. The only difference is instead of cutting the flap in your cornea and peeling it back and shining the laser in, they actually have a laser, I believe, shine and basically kind of grind it down, so it completely cuts through it. And I don't know if they cut it and they threw it away or anything, but it basically removes that little flap. So that's what they were looking at. They were looking at the thickness for mine to make sure. They did a little bit of math. They told me I was good. They had me sit down. And then after, about maybe 30 minutes, total, I was there for roughly 3.5 hours. The surgery itself took about 15 minutes. So after that, they took me back one more time. They had me take some medicine that kind of calms you down a little bit, and then they have you wait. They have you put like a head bandage on, so you don't get hair anywhere, and they even put little cozies, I guess, on your feet, on your shoes. And they have you wash your hands. They put some iodine on your eyes to sanitize it, and then they start putting in a lot of eye drops, so antibiotics. They wait about 5 minutes. They start putting in numbing drops, and you wait a little bit longer. I was there for maybe 20 minutes. They're kind of getting you ready, and then they go quick with everybody. So they have 2 people waiting in that specific location, and they just go through, and I'm guessing that it's one surgeon is what it looked like. So they just knock everybody out every Friday, and they just go through. They have people ready, and they just keep feeding them in. So it's pretty quick once I got in there. So it's not really that bad at all, and you shouldn't be afraid of it. I was pretty nervous a little bit going in, but after I was there, it definitely isn't that bad. If when you're walking out or things like that, it hurts and it feels very grainy, but you can actually manage to see very well. It's almost like having your regular glasses on and have it smeared with like Vaseline, but you can see. And then that's when I went home, and probably the most painful moment was right after, when I was being driven home. The numbing drops were starting to wear off, and then my eyes felt very, very gritty, and they tell you to leave your eyes closed the whole day. Originally, when I was going into it, I thought, like, that's weird. I don't like having my eyes closed. I'm not going to want to have my eyes closed. That's going to be hard. And actually, it's not hard, because it's really uncomfortable to even try to open your eyes. They tell you to open your eyes to walk or to eat. You don't honestly even want to do that the very first day. The few hours after the surgery, you honestly want to leave them closed. And for the first couple of hours, actually, that's probably the worst time, because the numbing drops wear off and your eyes feel really, really, really irritated, and all you want to do is close them and leave them shut. So that's what I did, and I actually, they tell you to take a nap, so I actually just fell asleep and took a nap, and even then, right when I woke up, it was still a little bit irritated, but it didn't really hurt anymore. It just felt like I had something in my eye, but it wasn't really that bad, and that's actually when I actually went up to use the restroom, and you could already actually see pretty well, and it was really cool. And then the really awesome moment is, you still leave your eyes closed. It's best to sleep, or, you can listen to TV or listen to audiobooks. Honestly, just sleep it off. and then you actually have a doctor's appointment the next morning, and that's where you kind of the next morning you take off the little, they're not bandages, but the little goggles that you have taped on your eyes, and you kind of blink a little bit, and you have to start putting in your eye drops since then, and you can see really, really well. It's a little bit hazy, but it's so cool because it's honestly, it's even better than seeing with glasses. So I can see even right now, it's been about 10 days since I had my surgery. I honestly don't even feel anything in my eyes. You can kind of see a little bit, but that's mainly underneath from when they put that pressure on my eye. I don't really feel any irritation, and I can see really, really well. Even since the day after, the day, it heals that quickly. The day right after surgery, you can already actually drive around. They want you to wear sunglasses. Put in your eye drops in a lot, but you can actually start driving around and you can start seeing, and it's so much better than having glasses. So I would definitely recommend it for anybody who's thinking of doing that type of surgery. If you have any questions about it, definitely from perspective of somebody who's had it, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there. It's a pretty common surgery, not nearly as common as things like procedures like getting braces, but it's definitely something that's common. But if you have somebody that you want to ask questions to, definitely let me know. If there's any, I don't know, any like Air Force kids out there like me who are in college who want to be like pilots, or just in general, you want to do it for a specific job, not only for like a lifestyle, you can ask me questions, and I actually looked into a lot of that. But that's basically all I have for today. Let me know if you like videos like this. As always, and like everybody says, be sure to like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next video.